Hey everyone, welcome to my story. Today's my story is on school discipline, which I think is a really worldwide issue, and it's something that the world really needs to talk about. So let's get right into talking about school discipline. And here's some of the questions that parents should be asking their schools once they get into the stages that your child moves into either pre-K school or high school or even elementary school, depending on whatever school district or whatever you go through. It'd be the best to talk to either one of the schools that your children are in. So the first question you will always want to ask them is, what does your school do to prevent misbehavior? And the reason why that is because the best discipline strategy aims to prevent unsafe and disorderly behaviors when they happen. So, in other words, the best way for a school to make you feel better is to assure you that they are going to keep the safety of your child and all the other children around them, which is very serious issue, especially nowadays when it comes to how the world has been acting lately, like their school shootings and that. So this kind of evolves into that because um you want to ensure that the school is actually going to protect your children and other children before you even allow your child to go to that school. Moving on, we have, what behaviors place your children at risk of being removed of the school or class? Now, in-school suspension and out-of-school suspension and expulsion from schools are traditional school disciplines. From nearly 3 million children receive an out-of-school suspension each year. However, these approaches came at great cost. Children suspended or expelled are more likely to drop out, be held back a grade, and be involved in a juvenile justice system than their peers. However, I do not believe that. So the reason why I don't believe that is because I think should be the children's decision should they drop out. Um, Also, I think it's the children's decision on whether or not they choose to act a certain way to get themselves be put into juvenile detention centers and etc. But that's for a different story. Um, but as for this question, I think this is a different type of question because you need to know if your child does some of the activities that you think would cause them to be removed of the school or class, then I think it's definitely time to sit down with your child and try to get them set straight on what's really expected of them in school. Moving on, we have another question, which is, how and when does my school involve police? Now, if you are asking this question, which absolutely um, you should know again what your child does to do, or what your child might do to protect, to show this. Typically, in my opinion, I think schools should enroll or have police involved only if there's a serious situation like a bomb threat or um a school shooting, because they are very serious, or even if a child does refuse to go to school. I personally have went through this, and I think knowing that the police was going to get involved might have changed, but for those children that were like me and didn't seem like they really cared, you as a parent should definitely know the limits that your child can go to before the police are involved. Moving on. Also, it shows you how quick the school is willing to remain and keep the other children and or your child safe from harm. Moving on, we have the fourth question, which is, does your school use corporate punishment or execution and restraint? Corporate punishment is the use of physical pain, generally with a paddle, to address school behavior. While prohibition in 28 states, more than 110,000 children were submitted to corporal punishment. And then there is seclusive punishment, which is more like restraining the child from physical actions, or pretty much telling them they have to isolate themselves from other children to keep them safe, and etc. My personal opinion on this, I know the world is very, very torn against corporal punishment. In this case, is that they're calling it, and I know I might get some mixed reviews about this one, but I think that, in my personal opinion, I think the schools should not be doing corporal punishment, because I think what should happen is you tell the children or the child to, I'm just going to say, in my child in particular, to knock it off, whatever they are doing to be getting in trouble. You give them maybe once or twice, and then the third time you call me or his other parent or a grandparent or whatever, and they will take care of it. Because the reason why I say that is, I think nowadays with how the world is, I think that's best, because you don't know how the teacher is going to feel, and if the teacher is going to show emotion towards doing some type of discipline to your child, and which could end up causing them to get significant damage, and that is not keeping your children safe. So that is why I think that corporal punishment should not be existing in nowadays era, but I can understand the other side as well. But in my personal opinion, I don't think it should be. Moving on, we have the final question for this video, which is, what is restorative justice and is it used in your school? Several school districts are working to implement restorative justice, an alternative to traditional types of school discipline, to improve peer and student-staff relationships, keep children safe and in school, and hold young people accountable for their own behavior. Schools using restorative justice treat misbehavior as an injury to the school community and its relationships rather than an infraction, and use various techniques such as circumferencing to help the children and community repair damaged relationships. While many schools have succeeded in reducing disciplinary removals using restorative justice, generous evaluations are underway to further test this approach. Now, parents, if your children's school uses restorative justice or other words to do it. Ask about the roles you and your child will play in the disciplinary process, the types of behavior for which they are used, and how schools are ultimately held accountable for their behavior. Now, I think this is a good thing because they are trying different mechanisms to maintain the safety of the children in the school and the staff in the school as well. So I think it's definitely worth trying, but I mean, again, you don't know really what they are doing. So again, definitely ask some of these questions if you are a parent, like what or when they are being used, what mechanisms are being used, and how are you held accountable, and how is the school held accountable for what is going down in the different things. And I think it's definitely something worth trying nowadays, because having like the corporate punishment and all these other punishments nowadays that the world has to their disposal when it comes to school can be quite serious to some parents. So again, it's worth trying. But next week's My Story will be on finding purpose in life, and a little bit of a story of what really happened with me recently with finding purpose in my life. So have a great day, peace, and thank you guys for watching.